The loud live stream donation alert blares through my phone speaker, and I jolt awake, cold phantom frost still lingering on my skin. The memory of freezing to death in the warehouse flashes unbidden, my exam ticket shredded into confetti, dozens of classmates screaming insults while I lost all feeling in my limbs. I'm back to the exact afternoon I first uncovered Goose CC's secret account last life. The scream mocks on the stream room. The streamer Joan begs viewers to send gifts to hit the ranking threshold. A username labeled CCBaby drops 30 rockets in one go. The platform's pop-up notification flooding the chat box with praise for the big spender. I zoom in on the account's personal feed photos, a desk with our classroom's unique scratch mark, the same school uniform Goose CC wears every day, no room for doubt. That's our class beauty, draining the shared college entrance exam fund we pooled for premium tutoring materials and private teachers. Last life, I panicked the second I saw this, took screenshots immediately, reported her straight to the head teacher, forced the platform to refund the stolen $300K, and safeguarded the full one. 7M fund for the whole grade study resources. MY reward was being kidnapped on exam day, tortured, and left to die. This time, I locked the phone and set it aside. No screenshots, no warning messages, no plan to step in. The fund holds $50,000 of my own money, 3 years of academic awards plus the $200,000 my parents handed over for my exam preparation support. That's the only asset I intend to defend. Let the rest of them chase Goose CC's fake tutoring pipe dream and burn through their own cash on live stream gifts. I'll sit back and watch every single one of their delusions collapse. The next morning, Goose CC drags herself into class with heavy dark circles under her eyes. The entire cluster of her followers swarms her desk instantly, bombarding her with questions about why she looks exhausted. Stayed up cramming review material all night for everyone's college goals. She simulates a shy, tired smile, holding up her phone to show a blurry screenshot of her and Zhong's late-night live video call. None of them pick up on the obvious lie. Zhou Yan reaches out to pat her head, tone dripping with worshipful pity. You push yourself way too hard for all of us. Unlike some people who slack off and only care about their own grades while everyone else worries about university admissions. His gaze cuts sharp straight toward my desk, every student's eyes snapping over to judge me. Goose CC covers her mouth to giggle, soft and saccharine. Don't talk about man like that. We've got the whole class's shared tutoring fund anyway, so even if someone doesn't study hard, we'll all get top-tier private coaching. I don't snap back like I did last life. Did I keep my head down, scribbling practice problems without a single word of pushback, which throws them off balance. Goose CC's fake smile falters for half a second, confused that her usual bait didn't trigger an argument. She marches up to the podium and taps the chalkboard to grab everyone's full attention. I found an exclusive tutoring program that guarantees admission to target universities. We just need to top up the collective fund a little extra to lock in spots for every single one of us. A murmur ripples across the classroom. Panic and excitement mix in every voice. One student shouts out the math instantly. 50 students at a supposed $100K per person equals 5 million total, far more than the 1.7 and we already collected. Sunway slams his palm hard against my desk, the impact rattling my pencil case. Speak up, class monitor. Your tutoring deal only costs $30,000 a person with 0 university admission guarantee. Are you pocketing kickbacks from the tutoring center? I lift my head, eyes flat and emotionless. No tutoring institution can legally guarantee university acceptance scores. I negotiated the 30,000 group rate after visiting 7 training schools and verifying their graduate transcripts myself 2 months ago. If you can find a legal program with a written guaranteed admission contract, show me the paperwork. Zhou Yan storms over and yanks my arm hard, his grip tight enough to bruise my wrist. Answer the question. Are you scamming the whole class for personal profit? 30 pairs of eyes lock onto me, filled with suspicion and hostility, identical to last life's hatred before they dragged me to the cold storage room. I pull my arm free without raising my voice. If I wanted to take kickbacks, I would have quoted 60 or 70,000 per head instead of cutting the original 50,000 price in half after 10 straight visits to negotiate group pricing. Ask Goose CC to share the name and official website of this miracle tutoring school she's claiming exists. Goose CC's face bleeds pale in an instant, lower lip trembling like she's about to cry. This institution only takes referrals from insiders. They don't advertise to the general public. It's my personal connection, so I can't just hand out contact info to random people. She pauses, dabs at dry eyes with her sleeve. If you all don't trust my efforts to secure better education for us, I won't push the offer anymore. We can stick with Manman's regular tutoring plan, just don't be upset when none of us hit our target school cutoff lines. The crowd shifts instantly, all the doubt directed back at me. Zhou Yan rounds on me again, volume rising loud enough to echo off the classroom walls. You're deliberately sabotaging CC's efforts to get us all into elite universities just out of jealousy of her looks and grades. Multiple classmates chime in to berate me, calling me petty, bitter, and unfit to hold the monitor position. Last life, I'd exploded into a lengthy defense, only to make them hate me deeper. This time I say nothing, just resume solving math problems, letting their rage fester without fuel. Goose CC resumes her speech on the podium, spinning more fabricated details to ramp up everyone's desperation. Originally, the program charges $200,000 per student. I begged the director nonstop to slash it down to $100,000 just for a class. The written contract fully refunds all fees if you fail to get into your dream school, no exceptions. We only have 20 minutes left to lock in spot reservations before they open the list to outside students. She pulls out a notebook to record down payments, and the room erupts into chaos. Kids pull out their phones to call their parents, begging for tens of thousands of yuan over the line, throwing tantrums when guardians refuse to send money. A girl named Li Xiaohua bursts into tears at her desk, running up to Gu Cece to beg for a personal loan to cover her share. Gu Cece feigns helplessness. I don't have spare cash to lend you, but you can apply for consumer credit apps to cover the fee temporarily. Once you graduate and land a high-paying job, paying it back will be trivial. Within 10 minutes, over half the class transfers deposit money to her WeChat account. Some hand over the full 100,000 up front without a second thought. Gu Cece's lips twitch into a hidden, greedy smile every time a payment notification pops up on her screen. She glances over at my empty payment column, mockingly soft tone dripping with sarcasm. Man, you haven't transferred anything yet. I can lend you my phone to call your parents if you don't have your cell with you. Zhou Yan rips the pen out of my hand and tosses it across the desk. As class monitor, you should set an example and sign up immediately. What's your problem? I stand slowly, staring at the pair of them. My future is mine to plan. I don't need your fake charity tutoring opportunity. The whole room erupts and shouts, calling me an ungrateful traitor who's dragging down the entire grade's prospects. Someone yells that I should forfeit my share of the collective exam fund entirely. I seize the opening they hand me without hesitation. I'll withdraw from the shared fund plan then. Transfer my 50,000 back to me right away. Gu Cece's smile drops off completely, shifting to a placating tone to stall me. We're all classmates. There's no need to be this hostile over a tutoring choice. Once we finish college entrance travel together, you'll change your mind. All of you just spent the last 10 minutes screaming insults at me. I don't want to participate in any group activities with this class anymore. Refund my money now. Zhou steps between Gu Cece and me, shielding her like a bodyguard. You owe the class compensation for your bad attitude. That 50,000 should stay as apology money for Cece. Multiple students echo his demand, agreeing my share belongs to Gu Cece for her hard work finding tutoring opportunities. A second plot twist unfolds in this moment. Every person who's blindly sent money to Gu Cece is now willing to steal my personal savings to reward her fabricated efforts, proving their greed outweighs any sense of collective fairness. I pull out my phone, tapping the screen to open my bank app's payment QR code. If you refuse to return my 50,000 voluntarily, I'll file a police report and submit the issue to school administration for embezzlement investigation. Gu Cece's composure cracks instantly, grabbing my wrist to plead with me to drop the threat. This is the critical senior year exam season. Reporting this to police will disrupt the whole class's study schedule. Can't we resolve this privately? The only disruption will come if you withhold money that legally belongs to me. I reply flat, no emotional fluctuation. Their arguing draws the head teacher, Wang, into the classroom. The second she steps through the doorway, every student swarms her to spin a one-sided story, painting me as the troublemaker who bullies Gu Cece and refuses to support the class's tutoring plans. Gu Cece buries her face in her hands and sobs theatrically for maximum sympathy. Wang's gaze lands on me, heavy with disappointment. What conflict are you stirring up as monitor? I only request a full refund of my 50,000 yuan that I contributed to the shared exam fund. I'm withdrawing from all group tutoring and graduation travel arrangements. I state plainly. Wang's eyes widen in shock, turning toward Gu Cece. The collective fund operates on a voluntary participation rule. Anyone can withdraw their contribution at any time without penalty. Why would you refuse to return her money? Gu Cece scrambles to manufacture an excuse. We were only joking with Man. We didn't mean to hold her funds hostage. I hold my phone up to display the QR code directly in front of her face. Transfer it right now. I need the funds for my own tutoring program payment today. Gu Cece hesitates, fingers hovering over her banking app, clearly terrified of pulling the balance and realizing much of the fund has already been drained for live stream gifts. She stalls for over a minute before completing the transfer to my account. Once the money hits my balance notification, I pack my stationery and inform while I'm formally stepping down from the monitor role effective immediately. Gu Cece glares daggers at me as I walk back to my seat. Don't come begging me for a tutoring spot later, when you regret it. The surrounding classmates rally around her again, hurling insults that I'll end up failing college while all of them attend elite universities. I ignore every word, focusing fully on my review textbooks. I already memorized every exam question from last life's test cycle. I don't need their fake 100,000 yellow scam tutoring at all. After school ends, I open the live stream app again to track Gu Cece's spending spree. Her Cece Baby account racks up an additional 120k worth of rocket gifts in one evening during the stream's ranking battle. By midnight, her total single-night donations hit 200,000 yuan, all siphoned straight out of the class collective fund she's supposed to safeguard. The stream chat spams endless praise for her lavish gifting, none of the fans aware she's spending other people's college tuition cash. I read her public post announcing she'll drop millions of points for the upcoming guild championship tournament the next day, guaranteeing Zheng the #1 ranking spot. A second major twist hits me as I scroll through the data. Gu Cece's spending rate is accelerating exponentially, and the 1.7M fund will be almost entirely wiped out within 48 hours before the class even realizes what's happening. The following morning, Gu Cece walks into class visibly frazzled, clutching a crumpled piece of paper to the podium. She claims the fake tutoring institution moved up the full payment deadline to noon that day, or all reserved spots will be revoked. Panic rips through the room again. Dozens of students pull out their phones to beg parents for more cash, or sign up for high-interest consumer loans to cover the full 100,000 fee. Several students run up to my desk, begging to borrow my newly refunded 50,000 yuan to secure their tutoring slots, promising to pay me back after graduation. I shake my head, explaining I'd already transferred all the money to my own verified tutoring center's payment account after school yesterday. They spit insults at me the second they hear the answer, calling me cold and useless. GooCC adds fuel to the fire, telling the crowd the tutoring program can still accept new applicants until midday, pushing everyone to rush to secure funds however they can. By noon, every student, but Mia sent their money to GooCC's personal account. She claims she's leaving campus to submit the full payment to the tutoring office, but I know her real destination is the live stream studio to dump more cash into the guild ranking competition. During afternoon self-study period, I deliberately connect my personal phone to the classroom's projection screen, pulling up Zhang's live stream without alerting anyone first. The whole class groans in irritation at the sudden noise until Sunwei, an avid live stream viewer, recognizes the gift usernames flooding the chat box. Everyone leans forward to watch the feed as CC Baby drops 300,000 yuan worth of dragon gift animations in one single donation to push Zhang up the ranking leaderboard. One student notices the desk photos on CC Baby's profile match GooCC's bedroom decor, shock spreading across every face in the room. I don't utter a single word to point out the connection. I simply leave the projection running and return to my review books, letting them piece together the truth on their own time. As the bell rings for evening self-study, Sun volunteers to pull the stream back up on the classroom projector for the whole class to watch the tournament's final round. GooCC logs back on to drop an additional million yuan worth of gifts to fight the rival top donor, pushing her total fund theft close to 4 million yuan within 48 hours. Panic turns to outright terror as the classmates connect the dots between the tutoring money they handed over and the millions in live stream spending flashing across the screen. They blow up GooCC's phone with calls and barrage the stream chat with accusations, all messages instantly deleted and their accounts muted by the stream moderators. GooCC's phone shuts off completely within 10 minutes, leaving the entire class stranded with zero way to contact her to recover their savings. Chaos erupts as the whole grade organizes a mass trip to GooCC's residential complex to confront her and demand the stolen money back. I sling my backpack over one shoulder and follow the crowd at a slow distance, ready to witness the full collapse of every lie GooCC constructed, along with the classmates who chose blind greed over basic logic 2 days prior. Every consequence they're about to face is entirely self-inflicted, and I bear zero responsibility to intervene this lifetime. The taxi convoy rumbled into the residential neighborhood where GooCC lived, every car stuffed with furious, panicked seniors. I hung back 50 paces, hands tucked in my jacket pockets, no rush to join the screaming crowd crowding her front door. The door flew open within seconds of non-stop pounding, GooCC's mother standing stunned in the doorway, cut off mid-sentence before a dozen students shoved past her and flooded the living room. GooCC was perched on the sofa, headphones clamped tight over her ears, fingers flying across her phone screen spamming gift purchases to keep up with the stream's rival donor. She only ripped the headphones off when someone grabbed her shoulder hard enough to jolt her whole body forward. "Who let all of you into my house?" Her voice cracked with shock, eyes darting across the mob of classmates swarming around her coffee table. Sunwei stepped forward, knuckles white with rage, and held out his open palm toward her face. "Hand over your phone right now. We need to check the collective exam fund balance, every single cent we handed over for tutoring." GooCC shrank back against the couch cushions, instinctively hiding her phone behind her hip. "What's wrong with all of you? I'm handling the payment for the tutoring center tomorrow morning. There's no need to burst into my house like this." "Handling payment?" Zhou Yen barked, the soft, adoring tone he used for her gone entirely. "We watched your live stream on the classroom projector for hours. CC Baby dropped millions of yuan in gifts to that streamer tonight. That money isn't for tutoring. It's ours, the class's shared college fund." Color drained completely from GooCC's face, her earlier cocky confidence vanishing in an instant. She scrambled to come up with a half-baked excuse, words tripping over each other in a desperate rush. "That's just a random rich girl with the same username as me. It's not my account at all. You guys jumped to the wrong conclusion without proof." One girl beside Sunwei lunged forward and snatched the phone out of GooCC's grasp before she could clamp her arms around it. She tapped into the bank app linked to the live stream account, turning the screen outward so everyone could see the current remaining balance of the collective fund. Only 52,000 yuan left. A roar of raw shock and despair rippled through the entire room. Over 6 million yuan of their combined savings, parent hard-earned wages, and 3 years of school grants had vanished in less than 48 hours of live stream gift wars. GooCC's mother staggered backward against the wall, hand flying to her mouth as she stared at the screen numbers. "You spent all that money on online gifts instead of study support. How could you do this to your classmates?" GooCC's shoulders shook, but she didn't cry out of guilt. She cried out of fear of the consequences closing in on her. "I only meant to send a few small gifts at first. The other donor kept fighting me for first place. I lost control without thinking about the tutoring fees." "Lost control?" Sunwei's voice rose sharp enough to echo off the apartment walls. "That's our future college tuition, our parents' life savings you threw away for a stranger's fake praise on a screen. Every one of us skipped meals and begged our guardians to scrape together tens of thousands for this supposed guaranteed tutoring program you fabricated out of thin air." Zhou Yen stared at her, all the months of blind defense crashing down on him in one blow. "You lied to every single one of us. You let me attack Man for pointing out your scam, made all of us bully her for no reason, just so you could drain our money to impress some online streamer. Goose CC reached out to grab his wrist, trying to rekindle his old soft spot for her. Yen, I know I messed up. Just give me a little time to get the money back from the live streaming platform. There's no getting it back. I spoke up from the back of the room, quiet enough that everyone turned their heads toward me. Live stream gift refunds for voluntary donations have strict audit rules, especially for high-value cumulative gifts over millions. The platform will only recover a tiny fraction of the total amount. Most of it is split between the streamer and the company permanently. No one shot insults at me this time. Days prior, they'd called me a bitter, jealous troublemaker for questioning Goose CC's fake tutoring plan. Now they stood silent, faces heavy with shame, realizing I'd been telling the truth all along, and they'd attacked me for it. Sunway's fingers hovered over the phone dial for the police non-emergency hotline. We need to file an official report for embezzlement of collective public funds immediately. The school set up this exam fund under formal administrative records. This counts as misappropriation of institutional assets. Goose CC threw herself forward to grab his arm, yanking the phone away from his hand and tossing it onto the carpet behind the sofa. Don't call the police. If I get charged with a criminal offense, my future is ruined. I'll never get into any university at all. Our futures are already ruined. A boy who'd taken out high-interest consumer loans to hand over his full tutoring fee screamed, I borrowed 40,000 yuan from online credit platforms just to pay you. Now I'm stuck with massive debt and no tutoring classes to show for it all. Multiple students chimed in one after another, listing their personal losses. Parents who drained long-term savings accounts, single guardians who'd taken extra overtime shifts to scrape together cash, kids who'd skipped necessary medical checkups to hand over their share of the fund. None of the hardship mattered to Goose CC. Her only concern was avoiding legal punishment for her own actions. The streamer Jiang means everything to me. She blurted out without a second of hesitation. I sent those gifts voluntarily, out of genuine affection for him. I won't file any refund requests with the platform to get the money back, even if that means I have to go to court over this. The whole room fell dead silent at her admission. Every student had assumed her core motive was mindless impulse spending she regretted, ready to cooperate to recover their tuition funds. Instead, she prioritized an online stranger's fake attention over every classmate's education and family finances. That was the first major twist none of them had anticipated. Zhou Yan's face turned a sick shade of red, his fist clenched tight at his sides. You'd rather face criminal charges than give back our money for that online guy's empty compliments? All the days I defended you, all the times I tore into Man for calling your scam out, I wasted every breath sticking up for someone who doesn't care if we all drown in debt. Goose CC tried to soften her tone, putting on her usual teary soft act that used to sway the whole class. I'll find a way to earn the money back working part-time jobs after graduation. Just don't press criminal charges right now. This will destroy my college admissions chances. Part-time work to pay back over 1 million yuan? I cut in flat. You'd need to work full-time minimum wage labor for over 20 years to cover what you've spent. None of us can wait that long for our exam tutoring support. Goose CC's mother sank onto the floor, sobbing as she realized her daughter's reckless online spending would drag the whole family into legal and financial ruin. She turned to the mob of students, begging them to accept a delayed repayment plan, but nobody was willing to entertain the idea anymore. Sunway snatched his phone back off the carpet and hit the dial button for the local police station, ignoring Goose CC's desperate screaming as she threw her body across the coffee table to block him. Within 20 minutes, 2 uniformed police officers arrived at the residential apartment, taking statements one by one from every student present, collecting screenshots of fund transfers and live stream gift records as official evidence. Goose CC was read her basic legal rights before being escorted to the local precinct for formal questioning. On the way out the door, she shot Zhou a pleading, watery look, but he deliberately turned his head and refused to meet her gaze. His infatuation had completely burned away. Back at the police station, the officers pulled up full chat logs between Goose CC and streamer Jiang as supplementary evidence. The screen showed hundreds of hours of late-night video calls, overly intimate pet names exchanged back and forth, and dozens of voice clips filled with suggestive, heavy-breathing Jiang sent her exclusively in exchange for her millions in gift donations. Zhou and Sun leaned over the tablet screen scanning the logs, their expressions hardening with every line they read. They'd spent weeks convinced she was a pure, innocent schoolgirl with a small hobby of watching live streams. The second layer of her manipulative, transactional relationship with the streamer shattered all remaining goodwill they'd held for her. The school principal and head teacher, Wang, arrived at the police station shortly after the students finished giving statements, holding formal documents for the school's civil lawsuit against Goose CC and the live streaming platform to recover the embezzled collective exam fund. School administrators confirmed that without the tutoring money, all planned intensive review courses, one-on-one elite teacher sessions, and specialized college entrance exam material orders would be fully canceled with less than 2 weeks remaining before the national exam date. Wang pulled the entire class aside for a private talk outside the interrogation room, her voice heavy with exhaustion and disappointment. For 3 years, Man spent every spare hour negotiating affordable group tutoring rates, visiting training institutions, and verifying graduate results to cut costs for all of you. When she brought forward proof of Goose CC's live stream spending at the very beginning of this mess, every single one of you mocked her, accused her of jealousy, and tried to seize her personal 50,000 yuan of savings as punishment for speaking the truth. Every student stared at the floor, heads hung low, unable to make eye contact with me or the teacher. They had no excuse to offer for their earlier mob bullying, fully aware they'd punished the only person looking out for the class's shared academic interests while catering to a scammer's whims. 1 week later, the school sent out official notices detailing the fallout. All premium tutoring programs were permanently cancelled due to the drained fund. Without structured, targeted review support, most students lost access to personalized weak point correction training they'd been counting on to boost their exam scores. The classroom atmosphere completely collapsed. No more group study discussions, no shared review resources, just constant anxiety and bitter resentment directed at one another. Half the class skipped self-study sessions every day, too consumed by stress over their family's lost savings and upcoming loan repayment deadlines to focus on textbooks. Zhou and Sun approached me after one morning's self-study period, voices quiet with unspoken shame. Man, we're so sorry for everything we said and did to you a few days ago. We blindly believed Cece's lies and attacked you when you were only trying to warn all of us. I nodded without lingering on the past conflict. I don't hold a grudge, but the damage is already irreversible for all of your college prospects. You chose to dismiss objective evidence for blind group infatuation, and that choice has consequences you can't undo 2 weeks before the exam. They had no rebuttal to my words, slumping back to their seats and burying their heads in review sheets filled with unmastered exam content they no longer had teachers to walk them through. This second major plot twist hit hard. The damage wasn't just financial debt and stolen money. The class's entire college entrance preparation framework was dismantled with barely any time left to rebuild, tanking their chances of hitting target university cutoff scores. On National Exam Week, the exam hall attendance sheet showed over 20 empty desks each day. Dozens of students were too mentally broken from the financial crisis and constant household arguments over lost savings to sit through the 3-hour testing blocks, opting to skip the exam entirely rather than face guaranteed low scores. Zhou and Sun both dragged themselves to each testing session, but their handwriting was shaky, their answers half-finished on every page. Stress had eaten away all their ability to concentrate on the test questions. I walked into the exam building each morning calm and focused, every past exam cycle's test material etched into my memory from my previous life's experience. I had my own separate tutoring program fully funded with the 50,000 yuan I'd retrieved early on, completed all targeted review modules months ahead of schedule, and faced zero financial or emotional stress dragging me down during testing. No mob waiting to lock me in a cold storage room after the final exam this lifetime. No shredded admission ticket. No parents destroyed by grief over my fate. Exam results released 1 month later, and the gap between my score and the rest of the class was staggering. I hit the admission cutoff for my top choice key university by a comfortable margin, receiving the official acceptance letter within days of score publication. Less than 5 students in the entire class managed to clear even a second-tier undergraduate score threshold. The rest hovered at vocational college or failed the exam entirely, forced to repeat senior year or give up higher education plans completely. Online core documents were published shortly after score release. The live streaming platform only agreed to refund around 350,000 yuan of the over 6 million embezzled fund, citing voluntary gift transaction regulations. The remaining 1.2 million shortfall was legally Gu Cece's personal liability. She was handed a criminal sentence of 20 years for large-scale misappropriation of collective institutional funds per local financial crime statutes. Her family's assets were frozen by the court to begin gradual restitution payments to the wrong students, leaving her parents facing decades of labor to pay off the massive debt their daughter created. Streamer Jiang cut all contact with Gu Cece the second the fraud case hit local news, deleting every chat log and removing all traces of her from his social media pages. The transactional fake affection he'd given her vanished the instant she could no longer dump millions of yuan worth of gifts on his stream room. Gu Cece's blind sacrifice for empty online praise yielded nothing but a lengthy prison sentence and lifelong debt. A year after the court ruling, I spotted occasional social media posts from my former high school classmates. Every feed was filled with bitter complaints directed at Gu Cece, recounting the lost tuition money and ruined university prospects year after year. Zhou Yan dropped out of his second-tier college repeat program after 1 semester, stuck working a low-wage retail job to help his parents pay back the loan debt he'd accumulated for the fake tutoring fees. Sunway's family sold their small residential apartment to clear the outstanding balance they'd lost to the embezzled fund, forcing them to move into a cramped rental unit on the city's outskirts. None of them ever reached out to apologize again after the initial brief conversation and self-study. Their shame over how they'd bullied and abandoned me when I told the truth kept them distant. They'd learned the brutal lesson that blind herd loyalty and greed for shortcuts destroy everything valuable in life, but the lesson came far too late to salvage their academic futures. Meanwhile, I moved into the dormitory of my dream university, unpacking my textbooks and planning for years of unimpeded, peaceful study with zero toxic class drama or parasitic manipulators dragging me down. Every small, hard-earned win this lifetime stemmed from one simple choice I made after rebirth. Stop sacrificing myself for people who would never value my efforts and only fight to protect what legally belonged to me. The mob's reckoning, Gu Cece's lifelong ruin, and my hard-won peaceful future were all fully set in stone, with no chance of the tragic fate from my previous life repeating itself ever again. Chapter 3, Aftermath and the Permanent Divide, word count, 2476. I moved into the flagship university dorm 2 weeks after receiving my official admission notice. The dorm room had wide windows with full sunlight, a separate desk for review materials, and no one barging over to drag me into meaningless class disputes. I unpacked my review notebooks, stacked all the college entrance exam exercise books on the shelf, and tossed the old high school class group chat screenshot into a spare file folder, never planning to open it again. The group had gone quiet the second exam scores dropped, only sporadic bitter messages popping up every few days from my former classmates. The first week of university lectures wrapped up when my phone pinged with a message from Zhou Yan. He sent a long block of text with no greeting, paragraphs rambling about how he dropped his repeat studies, stuck working a part-time warehouse shift to chip away at the loan he'd taken out for Gu Cici's fake tutoring fees. His parents had to cut their daily spending to the bone to cover the lost exam fund money, and every night after work, he replayed the day he'd shoved me across the classroom desk, screaming that I was jealous of Gu Cici's connections. He ended the message asking if I could forward the contact info of the reliable tutoring center I'd signed up for after withdrawing the class fund, hoping to squeeze in night classes to retake the college entrance exam the next year. I stared at the screen for 10 seconds before typing a short reply, only sharing the public official website link of the training institution, no extra words of comfort or commentary. He sent 3 more follow-up messages begging me to explain the registration discount rules, but I muted his chat thread and set the phone aside to finish my assigned reading. A few days later, Sunway's account popped up with a friend request. I accepted it out of idle curiosity, and his first message detailed how his family had been forced to sell their residential apartment to pay back the money they'd lost to the embezzled fund. His parents had moved into a cramped rental on the edge of town. His mother took 2 cleaning shifts every day just to cover rent and basic groceries. He wrote that every time he walked past the high school gate, he remembered the afternoon we projected Gu Cici's live stream onto the classroom screen, how none of them had believed my quiet hints until millions of their savings vanished. He wanted to apologize properly, face to face, if I ever returned to our hometown. I sent a single, "I understand," and didn't respond to any more of his follow-up messages. Midway through my first university semester, a class reunion invitation was forwarded to me via an old high school contact. The organizer was one of the girls who'd screamed at me for sabotaging Gu Cici's tutoring plan months prior. The event was scheduled for the weekend before the college entrance exam re-registration deadline. The whole grade planned to gather at a local restaurant to catch up and lament the ruined senior year. Out of sheer boredom, I clicked into the group chat attached to the invitation link and scrolled through the hundreds of messages accumulated there. Nearly every conversation revolved around Gu Cici and the lost $1.7 million exam fund. Some students traded court updates they'd gotten from the school's legal department. Others vented nonstop about the endless loan repayment pressure weighing down their households. No one brought up the way they'd ganged up on me, called me ungrateful, and tried to seize my 50,000 yuan as compensation for hurting Gu Cici's feelings. It was as if all their cruelty toward me had been erased from their collective memory, the entire group framing themselves as the sole wronged victims of Gu Cici's scam. One girl posted a long paragraph blaming the school's administration for failing to properly supervise the shared exam fund. Another argued the live stream platform should bear full financial responsibility for refunding the gifts. Not a single person acknowledged that they'd willingly handed over their life savings without verifying Gu Cici's claims, nor did anyone mention how they'd silenced the only person who'd seen the fraud unfolding from the start. I typed a short message into the chat before closing the window and declining the reunion invite. I won't be attending. My exam preparation and admission were unaffected, but all of you chose to dismiss clear evidence and prioritize a fabricated shortcut over logical planning. Every consequence that followed was a direct result of the choices each of you made. The chat exploded with instant replies. Some people fired back defensive lines, claiming they'd been manipulated by Gu Cici's acting. Others accused me of holding a grudge and refusing to forgive them for minor teenage mistakes. I didn't read a single response after sending my message, exited the group chat, and blocked all former high school classmates who'd repeatedly tried to reach me. That weekend, I took a campus bus to the city's municipal library and spent the whole day buried in professional textbooks. No spare mental energy to waste on the group's endless cycle of self-pity and shifting blame. 2 months later, local news pushed a small court report to my social media feed. The headline covered Gu Cici's formal sentencing appeal ruling. She'd filed a motion to reduce her 20-year prison sentence, arguing that the live stream platform bore partial liability for her impulsive gifting spree, and the class had pressured her into organizing the tutoring scheme. The judge fully rejected her appeal, citing bank records, live stream transaction logs, and witness statements from every member of our senior class as irrefutable proof of premeditated misappropriation of collective funds. The court's supplementary ruling confirmed the one. 2 million yuan shortfall would need to be repaid in monthly installments from Gu Cici's prison labor wages, plus compensation garnished from her family's remaining assets. A short attached interview clip featured the live streamer Zhang, filmed after the court verdict was released. His tone was cold and detached, stating he'd never maintained any genuine romantic connection with Gu Cici, only accepted her high-value donations as standard platform revenue. All private chat logs, video calls, and gift exchanges had been purely for stream viewership metrics, and he'd cut off all contact the second news of the fraud scandal broke. He refused to provide any financial restitution, claiming voluntary viewer gifts fell under the platform's user service terms, and bore no personal obligation to compensate defrauded students. I saved the news link into an archived folder, then closed the page without lingering. There was no satisfaction, no surge of revenge-fueled joy, only a flat, neutral sense that every chain of actions had reached its natural, unavoidable ending. CC had traded 15 years of freedom for temporary online praise. My former classmates traded rational judgment for a fake university admission shortcut and lost 3 years of academic prospects. And I'd only ever needed to safeguard my own assets and step back from their self-destructive spiral to avoid the fatal fate I'd endured in my past life. Winter break rolled around, and I traveled back to my hometown for a handful of days to visit my parents. While out buying groceries at the neighborhood supermarket, I crossed paths with Li Xiaohua, the girl who'd begged Gu Cici for a loan back in Senior 3, then taken out high-interest consumer credit to cover the fake tutoring fee. She stood in the checkout line with only a small bag of cheap vegetables, her face gaunt and worn out. When she spotted me, she hesitated for a second, then stepped over to speak, voice quiet and strained. I dropped out of the vocational college I enrolled in after the first semester. The loan monthly payments eat up almost all my part-time salary. My parents refused to speak to me over the money I lost, and I can't afford to sign up for any review courses to retake the exam. I still think back to that morning in class, when we all ganged up on you for pointing out something was off with Cece's tutoring plan. We were all so stupid. I nodded at her, handed her a spare pack of milk I'd picked up from the shelf, and said nothing more. She thanked me in a shaky voice and walked away once the cashier called her checkout number. No further attempts to prolong the conversation. Later that afternoon, I ran into Gu Cici's mother outside the residential compound where my high school had been located. She carried a tattered cloth sack full of discounted vegetables, her hair streaked gray from constant stress. When she recognized me, she lowered her head and rushed across the street to avoid making eye contact. No words exchanged between us. The sight of her hollow, exhausted expression stirred no sympathy within me. The family's long-term financial ruin stemmed entirely from Gu Cici's deliberate choices, and no amount of hardship could reverse the damage inflicted on 49 other families. Back at home, my parents set a bowl of hot soup on the dining table and asked if I'd run into any old high school friends while out shopping. I recounted the brief encounter with Li Xiaohua and the supermarket run-in with Gu Cici's mother, skipping over all the bitter details of the senior year incident. My mother reached across the table to pat my hand, commenting that I'd handled everything far more calmly than I had in my past life's trauma cycle. In your previous life, you exhausted every ounce of yourself trying to save a group of people who had no regard for your safety or your future. This time you only protected what belonged to you and let them bear the weight of their own decisions. I sipped the soup slowly, staring out the window at the quiet residential street. All the chaos, screaming classroom arguments, frantic trips to Gu Cici's apartment, and court hearings felt distant, like a story from a different lifetime entirely. I'd never once lifted a finger to manipulate or sabotage any of my former classmates. Every disaster unfolded purely from their own greed, blind idolization, and refusal to verify obvious lies. I'd only made one single adjustment after rebirth. Stop sacrificing my own safety and future to rescue people who would discard me the moment their personal interests clashed with mine. Before returning to university after winter break, I cleared out all high school-related photos and printed documents from my phone storage, deleting every screenshot of the exam fund records, live stream logs, and classroom confrontations. There was no need to hold on to evidence anymore. The legal system had delivered its verdict. Every participant had reaped the full consequences of their own actions, and my life no longer bore any connection to that toxic senior year environment. 4 years of university study passed quickly. I graduated with top academic honors, landed a stable research position at a municipal education institute, focused on college entrance exam policy research, and purchased a small apartment close to my workplace with my accumulated academic scholarships and salary bonuses. I rarely thought back to the events of Senior 3, only catching faint glimpses of my former classmates once every few months on social media. Zhou Yan posted occasional updates about his low-wage manual labor shifts, repeatedly venting about the unpayable debt hanging over his family's heads. Sunwei shared photos of his cramped rental home, complaining about the permanent financial strain left by the lost exam fund. Every few months, one of the old high school classmates would post a long, reflective social media entry lamenting how their senior year had been destroyed by blind naivety, yet none of them ever acknowledged the way they targeted and bullied me when I tried to warn them of the fraud. I never commented on any of their posts, never reached out to reconnect, and never accepted any new friend requests from my old grade. The permanent divide between their broken, debt-laden lives and my stable, peaceful future had solidified completely. They remained trapped in the aftermath of the shortcuts they'd greedily chased, while I'd walked away the second I realized there was no point in burning myself alive to save people who would turn on me without hesitation. No further contact, no lingering resentment, no desire for closure conversations. The entire story had reached its final, unchanging conclusion. Those who chose to ignore the truth suffered lifelong consequences, and the one person who only protected their own boundaries walked free into a steady, fulfilling life with zero lingering trauma from the past cycle's cold storage death.